Eliza's mother, Margaret, demanded she wear a corset every single day, no exceptions. Even when it left her gasping for air and bruises covered her back. To stop her from secretly taking it off, Margaret burned the corset straps together with a matchstick every morning, creating a signature seal. Even bathing wasn't private. A nanny washed Eliza head to toe like she was made of glass. Her underwear was boiled at 1,000, handled only with tongs, then sterilized under UV equipment like surgical tools. But it wasn't about hygiene or posture. It was about control. Margaret's obsession began the moment Eliza entered puberty. "It's for your protection," she said, "so no man will ever soil you." To Margaret, virginity was the highest honor. "Once a man touches you," she'd whisper, "you're nothing but used paper." Because the corset couldn't be removed without help, Eliza couldn't even use the restroom at school. Margaret's advice? Don't drink water. You won't need to go. At school, Eliza dreaded gym class. When a classmate asked what was wrong, she hesitantly lifted her shirt to show the corset beneath. The girls stared like they'd seen a monster. Eliza begged them to help her remove it just for class and to keep it secret. But outside the school's high brick walls, Margaret watched. And when she saw her daughter's bare waist, shame and rage crashed through her like a storm. She dropped the lunchbox she'd brought, stormed through the back gate, grabbed Eliza by the hair in front of everyone, and dragged her to the car. Inside, she beat her mercilessly. Then came the ultimatum: "If you disobey me again or tell anyone, I'll kill myself." Terrified, Eliza promised to obey. She carried the secret corset and her mother's madness all the way to 25. After every bath, Margaret measured her weight. One morning, the scale read 53.3 kg. Margaret exploded. "You drank something sugary." But in truth, Eliza had secretly sipped bath water to soothe her thirst. As punishment, she was denied water. Her meals for the day: tomatoes and cucumbers. Her father tried to offer her half an egg, but Margaret snapped. "Until she drops below 53, she eats nothing else." No one dared oppose her. That morning, Eliza picked up her best friend Becca on the way to work. Her phone was nearly dead and her car charger broken. She hit the gas in panic. If she didn't respond to her mom's tracker, punishment was guaranteed. The moment she entered the building, she ran into the coffee shop to find an outlet, and that's when he walked in. Tall, calm, impossibly handsome. He mistook her for a barista and ordered an espresso. Eliza recognized him instantly. Simon Carrington, the CEO's son. Their eyes met. Eliza, on impulse, attempted to make the espresso, though she had no idea how. She made a mess, but Simon smiled. "Cute," he muttered. Before he could drink it, he was pulled away. Later in the restroom, Eliza told Becca what happened. Becca laughed. 25 and still a virgin? If you don't live a little, you'll die of boredom." Unbeknownst to them, someone in the stall overheard. Olivia Carrington, Simon's sister. To her, Eliza's purity was gold. She knew her father wanted a traditional, untouched daughter-in-law. Eliza was perfect, because Simon, he was a problem. He had been secretly in love with Camille, a married woman with 2 kids. When Mr. Carrington found out, he was furious. "If you don't find a respectable woman to marry in a week," he thundered, "you're out of the family. For good." Simon told his mother he'd never love anyone else, but even Camille encouraged him to marry. "We can still be together," she said with a smile. Olivia panicked. She asked HR to pull Eliza's resume. The more she read, the more convinced she became. She pitched the idea at dinner. "She's elegant, innocent, like a storybook princess." Simon scoffed. Even if she were the last woman alive. But Mr. Carrington was intrigued. Eliza's last name sounded familiar. Turns out, her father was a loyal former employee. Without warning, Mr. Carrington called Eliza's dad. "Your daughter Simon likes her. I want them to meet." Her dad agreed, but only if Eliza did. Simon asked her to dinner. Her dad nodded in encouragement. Margaret, though, went berserk. "You made a decision behind my back." Her husband remained calm. "She deserves a life of her own." Margaret smashed a plate. But eventually, she agreed. The day of the dinner, Margaret said little. She dressed Eliza in a corset tighter than ever. Before she left, she whispered, "Don't let him touch you. Not even your hand." She pulled a white dress from a cedar chest one she'd worn as a girl. Tears streamed silently. Her love was cruel, but it was love. At the restaurant, Simon was stunned. Eliza looked like a vision. Their conversation was awkward, then smooth. then warm. For the first time, Eliza felt something flutter freedom. Just as they left, reporters swarmed, cameras flashed. Are you dating? Are you engaged? It was a trap, orchestrated by Mr. Carrington and Olivia to make the courtship public. The next day, both families met. Margaret brought her own linens. She warned Eliza, "Don't let anyone touch you, especially him." At dinner, Simon's mother tried to ease the tension. Eliza, flustered, said something kind about Simon and accidentally brushed his hand. Margaret's eyes darkened. She knocked over a glass. "I'm going to bed." But Mr. Carrington insisted on a family photo. Eliza and Simon stood side by side, camera flashes freezing their fates together. Later that night, Margaret insisted Eliza sleep in her corset. What if he sneaks in? Simon lay in his own bed, staring at Camille's photo. He missed her, but Eliza's presence lingered in his thoughts. In her room, Eliza whispered, "One day, I'll be free." That night, sleep did not come for Eliza. The corset bit into her ribs like a cage of thorns. Her breath came in shallow bursts, her skin damp, beneath the layers of lace and steel. Every time she turned, the bruises on her back screamed. But louder than that was the voice inside her, whispering a question she'd never dared ask before. What if this isn't love? Downstairs, the Carringtons were still up. Mr. Carrington and Simon debated wedding dates and venue ideas while Margaret silently listened from the hallway upstairs, her eyes hollow and her hands clenched tightly around the keys to Eliza's room. Her husband tried, once again, to convince her to let go. "She's not a little girl anymore," he said gently. "She deserves the chance to live, to love." But Margaret just stared ahead, eyes empty. "If I let her go," she whispered, "I disappear." The next morning, Margaret woke Eliza. Before dawn, the air was cold, silent, ominous. She helped her bathe in silence. Not a word between them. Then, she produced a new corset, white, covered in lace, and terrifyingly rigid. She burned the straps closed as always, sealing it with trembling hands. "You will marry him," Margaret said flatly. "But remember what we stand for. One mistake, and everything I've built for us will be ruined." Eliza stared at herself in the mirror. The corset cinched her waist to a perfect hourglass. But her eyes, those were no longer the eyes of a girl molded by fear. They were eyes filled with fury and awakening. The wedding was announced a week later. Everything was grand, pristine, and rehearsed like a performance. Eliza walked through it all like porcelain, perfectly posed, completely silent. Simon noticed something had changed. She no longer smiled at him. Not politely, not shyly, not at all. He couldn't explain it, but it unnerved him. The night before the wedding, Becca came to see her. "Are you sure this is what you want?" she whispered. "You don't have to do this. You can walk away." Eliza looked at her in the mirror. "I can't," she said quietly. "But I will." Becca didn't understand then. But she would. On the wedding day, the church filled with elite guests. The Carrington name glimmered from every invitation. Photographers were already perched like vultures at the entrance. Simon stood at the altar in his tailored tux, waiting. Then, the music began. Eliza stepped into view, and a collective gasp swept through the room. She wasn't wearing the dress Margaret had chosen. She wore a simple, flowing gown, no corset, no restrictions, her back bare and covered in faded bruises, proudly visible for the world to see. Simon's eyes widened. Margaret stood up in the front pew, trembling. "Eliza," she hissed. "What are you doing?" Eliza didn't look at her. She walked slowly, deliberately, down the aisle. When she reached Simon, she turned to face the crowd, and then she spoke. Her voice was soft at first, but every word rang with clarity. "My whole life, I have been held hostage by fear." She glanced at Margaret, told that purity was more important than breath, that shame was stronger than love, that my body was not my own. Gasps, murmurs, the sound of dozens of perfectly groomed reputations beginning to crack. She took a deep breath. "But today, I give myself back to me." She turned to Simon. "I don't love you. I don't even know who I am yet. But I know I will never find out if I keep living someone else's idea of who I should be." She removed the engagement ring, handed it back to him gently, and stepped away from the altar. Margaret rose, furious, her voice shrill. "You ungrateful girl. After everything I did." But Eliza turned and faced her mother with more courage than she'd ever known. "You didn't protect me, Mom. You imprisoned me." Tears filled Margaret's eyes, but they weren't the kind that freed her. They were the tears of a woman watching control slip through her fingers. As Eliza walked past her, she whispered only one thing: "You'll have to learn how to live without me." That night, Eliza stood on a hill overlooking the sea, wind whipping her hair freely for the first time. No corset, no straps, no burn marks, just skin, soft and marked by survival. Becca joined her, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "To breathing," she said. Eliza smiled. "To living." And as she sipped the cold sparkling liquid, Eliza didn't just feel free, she was